Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a different video for you all, and it is going to be a review video on the newest Lensbaby Sol 45mm lens. And I don't usually do review videos that often. I just don't feel like I've got the technical knowledge sometimes about cameras and lenses to be able to sometimes do a thorough enough review. There is an exception with this one though, because Lensbaby reached out to me a few months ago prior to the release of this lens and asked if I'd be interested in doing a review. I haven't actually used Lensbaby before, and I think that's why they chose to reach out to me, because I think they were after photographers who were new to the product and wanted to see their opinions on the lens. So for those of you guys who don't know who Lensbaby is, Lensbaby are a company who offer creative lenses to photographers and have been doing so for over the last decade. They offer really interesting effects with their lenses to really get photographers in a creative place and produce some really interesting and stunning shots. They're definitely a brand that I've wanted to use for a while now, and I really just never got the opportunity to do so, but they do have a really cool range of lenses, so if you want to check out their website, the link is down in the description box below. So I was really excited to give this lens a go and see what I could come up with in terms of photographs, and really interested just overall to review this lens and put my own opinions forward. Just before we get started though, this is not a sponsored video. All opinions are personal opinions, so just keep that in mind when you're watching this video. I'm going to start off by giving you guys a rundown of what the lens is. So as you can see here, this is the Sol 45. So it is a very small, lightweight lens. It is perfect for traveling with. And it actually does feel like it's got a bit of weight to it. It doesn't feel like a really cheap lens, even though it is actually very reasonably priced. So the interesting thing with this lens is that there actually is a couple of aperture blades just in the center here, and you can move them horizontally, vertically, whichever direction you like. And this creates a different type of background blur or bokeh blur. And it kind of creates a stripy effect in this instance. There also is the option to change your focus point with this lens. So this is all manual focus with this lens, there's no auto on it. And all you have to do is tilt the lens in whatever direction you want to focus on more so, and you can move the focus point that way. And to focus with this lens, you just use this ring here on the end. It also has a fixed aperture of f3.5 on the lens, so you won't actually be able to adjust that. The lens is 45mm, and the effect that it creates is most noticeable when you're taking a photo of something up close, and the background blur really does start to become very apparent. So this lens is made specifically for DSLR and mirrorless cameras, and it is compatible with Canon EF, Nikon F, Sony A, Pentax K, Sony E, Fuji X, and Samsung NX. I had a really good experience with this lens overall, but I'm going to show you guys a bit of a hands-on approach. I did take some photos on a recent shoot that I did in Melbourne, and I really wanted to try out everything that the lens had to offer. So I did get some photos with the bokeh blur, I got some photos without that, and I also got some photos using the different focus points using the tilt function on the lens. I'm going to show you some behind the scenes of when I was photographing a model recently with the Sol 45, and you guys can see how some of the images turned out, particularly with the aperture blades and without the aperture blades. Hope you guys enjoy. so I'm going to start off by going through a few things that I didn't like as much about this lens. And I think I'm first going to start off with the aperture blades. I'm just going to let you guys know as well, these are all of my personal opinions, so I totally understand if you guys don't agree or if you like some of the things that I personally dislike. I don't actually like the aperture blades that much. I think the effect that they create sometimes can be very distracting in a photograph, and I really wasn't that keen on the effect that they produced overall. I don't think that that's something that I would use very regularly, and I understand that this is a creative lens and photographers are meant to be creative with it. They're meant to get some interesting angles and some shapes, especially with the background blur, but for me, I didn't like it as much. I think you can create some very interesting images with the aperture blades, and maybe I just wasn't doing the right kind of photo shoot for it. And I think there's other photographers out there that could get some amazing images using those blades, but for me personally, it's maybe not something that I would use quite often. I also found it quite hard to focus this lens. I really did struggle for most of the afternoon when I was taking photos. It's quite a small area that you have to focus with using this lens, and I did find it a little bit awkward to do so. And you do have such a very small focus spot on camera. Unfortunately, a lot of my images did turn out very blurry, and it was very hard to see in camera when I was shooting if it was in focus or not, and unfortunately a lot of the time it wasn't. Having said that, there were quite a few things that I did love about this lens, and one of those points was that it actually creates a really beautiful blur. I was really surprised at how smooth the background blur was once you moved the aperture discs off. I was really impressed by the fact that it was just so smooth, and the fact that it's such a light lens. I mean, you could look at my 85mm from Canon and it's quite a heavy lens, and it's pretty crazy when you think of how reasonably priced this lens is as opposed to my 85, which is over $2,000 I believe. I just thought that the blur was amazing. For a portrait lens, I think that that's something that I would use quite often, and I think I could see myself using this lens quite regularly for that function, for that beautiful portrait blur that it creates. So I was really impressed with that. And although I did find it hard to focus this lens, when you do get the focus right, it's surprisingly sharp, and that's another thing that I was really impressed with, because I've had much more expensive lenses before that haven't been as sharp as this lens. So I was really impressed with that fact. It's just the matter of getting that focus point right, and I think that might just be something to practice with, and maybe over time that will get easier and you'll know where to put the focus point a little bit better. I just found it really hard because we were outside and the sun was quite distracting at times. It was quite hard to focus in that situation, but I do think that that's something I could get better with over time in using this lens. So I mean guys, I could really pick this lens to pieces, as I could with any piece of photographic equipment, but at the end of the day, this is a really reasonably priced lens. It is going to retail for $199.95 when it does get released, so I think that's a really great price for a lens. And I think the potential with this lens is actually quite astounding. I was really put into a creative mode when I started using this lens, and it was really great to experiment with something different other than just my standard lenses in my kit. So I think it's definitely going to become part of my kit and something that I will use from time to time. Is it something that I'm going to use every photo shoot? Probably not. And I think the process is just too slow with me trying to focus all the time for it to become part of my regular shooting process. But I think there's going to be times where I want that background blur that this lens can create, and I can definitely apply that to my photographs now without using my 85mm. And having a 45mm is kind of a great addition to my kit because it's something that I don't have currently at the moment. So in using it from time to time, I probably wouldn't use the aperture discs quite regularly. That might just be a one-off every now and then, possibly. But for some photographers, that might be something that they really enjoy using, and it could create some really creative, interesting images. So overall, I think this lens would suit hobbyist photographers, beginner photographers, and people who just like to create interesting images, creative images. Anyone who likes to go outside the box a little bit more with their photography, this lens would likely be perfect for you, and I can definitely recommend it as something new to try for photographers. If you're getting a little bit stale with your own equipment at the moment, this is a really fun lens and I think you'd really enjoy it. I'm really excited to try out more of Lensbaby's lenses. Now that I've finally tried one out for the first time, I'm pretty excited to see what else they have in their range, and I'm really happy I got a chance to review this one. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please do. And let me know what else you want to see on my channel. Let me know if you want to see more reviews like this one, and in particular, what sort of equipment would you want to see reviewed. And let me know if you've used Lensbaby before and what is your favourite lens by Lensbaby. I'm really interested to hear your opinions and what your experience has been like with them previously. So thanks guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!